Yo, what's up, y'all? I got another reading log. This is everything I read in the month of April. Uh, pretty, I feel like I've been on a steady pace here where I'm reading like a little bit more than 10 books a month. Obviously, of varying sizes, but I feel like this wasn't like a great month, but there was like some real standouts. Yeah, which maybe that's how I start every one of these videos. So I'm like, it was all right, but I liked some. But we'll see how it compares. This first one I got here is Manifest Destiny, Book Two. This is the second deluxe book, so he's a big boy. My first one I actually have lent out to a buddy right now, so I only have Book Two. But during April, I did read both. I reread the first one so I could like carry that momentum in here. And Manifest Destiny, dude, it's a 5 out of 5. This is a banger masterpiece of a book. Not in the same way as like some of these other ones that were like, I don't know. I feel like there's like an emotional impact to some of the other books that I give like a 5 out of 5, where maybe you're thinking about the world and your place in it in life and all that stuff. And I don't think this has that one. This one has like a degree of separation, but it's still like incredibly entertaining. I think if this got made into like some animated TV show, I think it'd be prime time stuff, dude. So the pitch for this book is it follows Lewis and Clark on their expedition through America, except America is full of horrible, horrible monsters. So it follows Lewis and Clark in their expedition of men who are all either soldiers or like death row inmates, which they have decided to give like a pardon if they complete this mission. And we just follow Lewis and Clark as they explore this world. Is one of those books where Lewis and Clark, although they are like the guys that we are watching, right? They're the main characters here. They're supposed to be who we're like rooting for. They're terrible, dude. These motherfuckers are awful. Terrible people. Everybody on here, it's like a lot of interesting, flawed characters, which is really fun. It also has a very, really good group dynamic where it's a real ensemble type of story, right? So even though Lewis and Clark are for sure the main guys, you get a lot of looks at their whole crew, and it makes for this really well woven, interesting group dynamic as they go through these monsters. Because I think, having cool monsters to fight is really great. But the thing that sends it over the top is when you can really get in touch with the people who are fighting against them. And this book does an incredible job of that. I'm not going to show too much of this. The art on this is incredible. This is a pretty popular series, so I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it before. But, I mean, it's so good. Chris, surely his name isn't Dingus. Dingus, we'll say. Chris Dingus and Matt Roberts. I can't find any other comic books that these guys have done. So I don't know if this was it. They just came in and like made this banger and left. But this book's a 5 out of 5, dude. It's incredible. Everybody and their mama should read this book. I think it's wonderful. Up next, we got Time Waits. It's written by David Brothers, Chip Zdarsky, and drawn by Marcus To. My book's a little beat up. I got this one off this like Amazon used thing. I don't know what I was thinking, bro. It's if you're buying used books, don't buy them off Amazon, bro. It's not worth. But anyways, this story was kind of a flop to me. I like Chip Zdarsky plenty. Sometimes I feel a little bit like I can be disappointed with like I don't know, some of his stuff. I don't know if impersonal is like the wrong word, but like I really like Stillwater, but I feel like the ending of Stillwater like really shook me to my core on like my belief in Chip Zdarsky. I read his Daredevil run. I think it's cool. He's not my favorite writer, but he is still good, and I'll still usually pay attention when he drops a book. Marcus To, who I believe, I don't know if he colors. No, Matt Wilson colors. That makes sense. The colors are beautiful in this book. It's a distillery book, so it's in this kind of like big magazine size instead of the normal size of the book. It follows this main guy who I'm sure has a name. Blue, maybe? I don't know character names, man. We follow him. The whole pitch of the book is that he used to do some like he was like a mercenary time travel guy at some point, and I guess he stopped wanting to do it, and he just stopped in present day and tried to start a life And this book is kind of the story of what happens when those time traveling mercenaries come back to just fuck them up, I guess. The book's fine. The art's solid. I would call this book, I hesitate to use this word, but a little bit generic, For having it be time traveling mercenaries, this book is real regular, bro. It's not that interesting, nothing you haven't seen before, nothing you haven't heard before. The characters are fine. Do I care about any of them? Probably not. But I don't know. I really am rooting for a lot of these distillery books that be coming out, and this was like the first collected one that I was like really interested in. So I feel mostly just disappointed. Maybe my expectations were a little bit too high. It's like a very grounded, stay-at-home kind of story, but I was looking for more from this, and that's kind of the feeling that I've been left with afterwards. So Time Waits, I'm gonna give it probably like a 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. It's alright, Definitely not like bad comics, but I hesitate to say uninspired. It feels like I'm bashing this. I really do like Marcus Toe's art. Matt Wilson's colors are like really, really good. This book just wasn't for me. Up next, we got Subgenre. It's by Matt Kindt, drawn by Wilfredo Torres, colored by Bill Crabtree, one of my personal goats of comic book coloring. I've said this I think last month too, but I'm trying to read more Matt Kindt books. And this one, I think, is what scared me off initially about Matt Kindt, is what's going on in this book. I would explain to you what's happening in this book, but I really don't know. It's a little self-indulgent for me at times. Wilfredo Torres' art is very good. I like the colors in this book. Even though Wilfredo Torres sometimes, I wonder if he's over-referencing his stuff. That feels like a pose. I can see the picture he's using for that reference, which I don't always love in my comic books. But, personal gripe, I guess. He's very good. Wilfredo Torres is very good. Matt Kindt, as a writer, likes to be a little meta sometimes, and he likes to tell stories about the idea of stories, which, for me, not a fan in any form. I just I don't need a meta breaking story about stories. It's never been something I'm interested in. And this is one of those. It follows this guy, Verge, something like that. And it starts out with him as this detective in this kind of futuristic city. And he's working for this big soulless company, and it leads him to follow on this crazy, on this murder mystery that the company wants him to figure out. And then while he is going and investigating this, something happens to him, and he ends up in a new time and place as this weird barbarian guy, and we're kind of following him through these different versions of stories or whatever. I don't know. It was a bit much. I'm being harsh. I actually did. It's not like I hated reading this or anything like that. I was just a little disappointed by the end of it. Subgenre, I feel like, I don't know, man. It's just too much, man. I'm cool with it just being my story doesn't have to be about everything. You know what I mean? Or the idea of storytelling. And there's a lot of that in here. So it really was not my cup of tea. I would give this probably a high 2 out of 5 because Wilfredo Torres is very good. Bill Crabtree is an incredible colorist, but the story really wasn't for me. Up next, we have Skyborn by Frank Cho, written and drawn by Frank Cho, I believe, which we love a writer-artist. The short pitch to this book is that the Skyborns, it's like this family of people who are invincible, immortal, badasses. I think that he tries to tie some more history into that, but that's really what it is. And this book is really just like a 2002 action movie that just never got greenlit. Frank Cho's art is gorgeous. I really like the digital coloring in this book, which I'm not a digital coloring guy, but it really works here. And his sense of design, I think, is also really good. That all being said, Story's kind of basic. I think that the jokes that Frank Cho goes for in here have aged really poorly and are like just mildly, misogynistic, in a way that doesn't feel like is like intentional. I know sometimes in books they can have characters that like have these views, and you kind of like you hear that from the character and kind of there's like an acceptance of who the character is. That character is flawed, but these characters don't feel very distinct. This very much feels like an action movie that Frank Cho just wanted made. A lot of jokes that are like inappropriate dad jokes. Like there's some jokes in here that are like ones that like your dad would say at a dinner table while there's someone new in the house type of thing, and then you're like, ooh, wow, I haven't heard that one before. That's really bad. That doesn't sound good. I can't believe you said that about Asian people. That's like what this book has. You know what I mean? Again, the visuals are really cool, but I think the writing in this book is like really just not up to par. It's clear that he is thinking of the visuals more so than he is the writing in this entire book. The ending, I think, is like not great. But I don't like regret reading this book. I think it's fun. It's definitely not great. I don't think I'm recommending this to anyone, but this was my introduction to Frank Cho. I know that he has done a lot of Big 2 work. Really good artist. This book, I don't think is very good, though. So I'm going to give Skyborn by Frank Cho probably also a 2 out of 5. Okay. We're switching gears here. This book is one that I liked. This is also by Matt Kindt. It is drawn by Jean-Denis Bendanx. Bendanx? I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. X in French. But those are guys making this. Like I said before, reading more Matt Kindt. I think he's a very creative guy. I think he is makes some very interesting stories. And this is one of those. First thing I'm going to point out, the art is off the chain, bro. This guy painting this book is sick with it. My understanding is that this book was the first book, perhaps, that he made out of his Dark Horse imprint, Flux House. And it really reads like it was intended to be contained in a graphic novel. I don't know if it came out in actual issues, but it works really well for like the collected edition. We follow Mr. Mammoth, this big lug, who is also perhaps the world's greatest detective. A pitch that I always love. It's set in... What year is it supposed to be set in? I don't know, man. Maybe the 70s? I don't really know when it's supposed to be set. I don't know why I led into it that way. But, like, the TVs look like this, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the TV. So, whatever year that is. And he gets hired by this guy, who I love the design for, to investigate someone blackmailing him, is the pitch of it. And this one also is a little heady and a little much on that end. However, I think that this contains itself really well in the story. We're not writing like like the book, a comic book about the beauty of a comic book, but that's like the subject matter. Like, this is a beautiful comic, but the story is like very contained within itself. I don't know if that made sense. I really like this book. The painting and the artwork in this book is incredible. It's definitely a little confusing at times. I had to go back and reread some pages, definitely, to make future things make sense. But the vibes are on a million, dude. On a million. Matt Kindt also has this habit in a lot of his books of including like really big, big dudes in stories that are like these big, strong lugs. And so when I saw that he made a book centered around one of those guys and it wasn't just like a side character, I was like, wow, this is clearly the book for me. It was a great time. Again, I think this is a tough recommend. It's a little confusing, it's a little weird, but I think that's kind of where the beauty lies in this book. I'm going to give Mr. Mammoth, I think, a high 3 out of 5. Up next, we have Lazarus, the first hardcover by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. I got this book because I had read Gotham Central. Loved that book. I did it, I think, in last month's video. I kind of talked about that one a little bit. Michael Lark's art was perfect for Gotham Central. I had heard about Lazarus, but I had been hesitant to jump in just because I don't know, like the cover of this book kind of threw me off a little bit, where it's kind of like it feels so digital. That throws me off. But the Michael Lark art inside is incredible. Greg Rucka is one of those artists that are not artists. Greg Rucka is a writer that I've heard a lot about, but I hadn't read that much stuff of his that I had liked. I read a little bit of Queen and Country, which was like all right for me, but I know a lot of people like it. I was hesitant, but this book, I think, is very masterfully done. It follows our girl here. I believe her name is Forever? Something like that. She is a Lazarus. It takes place in this world where it's like there's these families who run different sections of the world, and they've carved out territory like gangs. So there's like 10 families that rule the entirety of the world. They are super rich. They control everything. Makes life pretty miserable for everybody else. Is basically the family above everyone else. Then the next tier of society is serfs, which are people who are useful to the family, and they call everyone else in the world waste, which is tough. But our girl here, she is a Lazarus for one of these families, the Carlisle family, and she is kind of like a genetic, like, super soldier that they use to do their bidding. Each family has their own Lazarus. This is like a part of the deal. There's implications that there was like some fight that necessitated the need for these Lazaruses at some point. There's a lot of like implied history of this world, which is really what I liked about the first issue, or like the first part of this book, is how it just drops you in and like not like expects you to figure it out. I think it's pretty readable and like easy to figure out, but this world is so thought out already. It's so fleshed out. It feels so real. The world extends beyond the panels in every single part of it. And it's definitely has a little bit of like sci-fi. It's a little bit of like end of the world, post-apocalyptic stuff. And it's wonderful. I think this is one of those books that has an incredible first issue. I think it's an all-timer for me. But it holds that pace as things go on. It's kind of a slow burn, and it kind of brings you into the life of both the family, like the Carlisle family that's in charge, and the quote-unquote waste of like the lower class of people. And it really takes its time with some of that, and it really shows you these relationships, the interpersonal relationships, and it's beautiful, dude. My favorite part of this book is Forever, who's the Lazarus, her interactions with other people, and her, like, we know more information than she does already. And we're just watching these things like happen to her, and she's wrong, or not wrong, but she like makes mistakes. She's like naive. She like doesn't understand, and we understand a little bit more. And it makes this really fun dynamic for a main character where you're like, the whole time you're rooting for her to be like, you're better than this. You know what I mean? Don't you see that all of these people suck and they're using you and they're terrible? And she doesn't. And it's kind of like watching that flawed character move through this world. That is such a great engine to push you through the story. I really liked Lazarus. I don't know if you can tell. I think this first hardcover for me is going to be like a low 5 out of 5. I don't want to call it like a banger masterpiece, but I mean, I also can't tell you anything wrong with this book. Like, it's really good. Very well written. Beautiful artwork. Lazarus, 5 out of 5. I'm going to call it a banger, man. Up next, we got Zatanna, Bring Down the House. It's written by Mariko Tamaki, drawn by Javier Rodriguez. I think Javier Rodriguez also colors it. But I was really excited for this book. I'm a big Zatanna guy, you know, as a red-blooded man. You know, what can I say? Javier Rodriguez, that is his name, right? Okay, yes. Javier Rodriguez is out of his gourd, dude. The story of this book wasn't really for me. It kind of follows along the lines of like what I think makes really mediocre Big Two comics, but his artwork is ridiculous and is worth the price of admission for this book. Look at these first pages, dude. This guy is ridiculous. His compositions, his color usage. He draws these insane pages. Insane. There's another one later on where even just during like really regular events, his dynamic, like, the compositions art make it all so interesting. It's beautiful. I know he's doing Absolute Martian Manhunter right now, which I really do want to read, but I am a filthy trade waiter, so I will not be getting it anytime soon. It's sick, dude. It's so sick. The story is just about Zatanna, who, this is a Black Label book, so it's out of continuity. So in this version, she's working in Vegas as like a regular stage magician. She does not use magic. She does not want to use magic because of something that happened in her past. And, you know, something incredible happens, and she might have to go back and be magic, man. Get pulled in for one last job. It's kind of the pitch of it. There's some, you know, a lot of zany sorcery stuff. A couple other like cameos from other bigger DC characters. Look at this monster, dude. But really, it's the visuals to take away from this book. I think the story is really kind of mid, to be honest with you. But the artwork, look at that. The people, as the place is burning down, this is the people exiting the theater while she's talking to her. Artwork's incredible. And I think because of that artwork, I'm going to make it a 3 out of 5. I think this is worth it, you know? I mean, obviously it's a DC book, and I got the hardcover one, so it's expensive for no reason. But I really like this book. I'm very happy to have it in my collection. 3 out of 5 for Zatanna Brings Down the House. Up next is Dark Knights of Steel Allwinter. It is written by Jay Kristoff and Tirso. I follow Tirso, the artist, on Instagram. I really like his work. I liked the the main Dark Knights of Steel series. I liked it though. And so when this came out, I was like, dang, that looks like Deathstroke as a Viking. I think I have to buy it. So it's out of my hands. And it's pretty good. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I had pretty low expectations going into this book. Tirso's art is really, really good. Throughout this story, there's a very unique use of color throughout it. I don't want to get too far into that, because there are minor spoilers in there. But there's a reason for the coloring being the way it is. And it follows Deathstroke, who is this Viking, very Conan the Barbarian, where he is like this kind of loose cannon mercenary general guy. He's working for, his name isn't Vandal Savage in here, but it's their version of Vandal Savage. Doing all of these things. And he, on one of his missions, runs into an old flame who's protecting a boy who may have special powers. That's all I'm going to get into it story-wise, because I don't really want to spoil it for anyone. But the art's so good, dude. The art's so good. Sometimes the writing is a little silly and, like, I don't want to say, like, cliche, but, you know, just regular Big Two stuff, where I'd imagine it's very hard to write a book over there. So I don't want to, like, take shots at the author. That's not what I'm saying. Or at the writer. But just, you know, some of the normal superhero trappings. But there's lots of interesting visuals as this thing goes on. I ended up having a pretty good time with it. I was hoping to show some of the color stuff that's happening in here. But it's cool things, man. It's cool stuff. It's a fun time. It's one of these Elseworlds books. So, again, it's not connected